Laughlin here. I am so honored today on Talking Heads in many regards. We're toward the end of 2022, but this past week, one of my clients, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, uh, had a book launch for her first children's book, and her second children's book cover was finally thrown out to the world to say, "Hey, this is what we're doing." And believe it or not, in 2 days, she became the number one new release in children's books, and it's amazing. I feel overwhelmed in the fact that we're just working on this, and boom, it happened. It's overcoming. Anyway, as I felt overcome with that emotion of we did something, I would like to share that same feeling with my audience with regard to we're entering a new year, 2023. Most people have a tendency on January 1st to say, okay, what are my New Year's resolutions? I want to lose weight. I want to do this, whatever it may happen to be. And our subconscious mind has a tendency sometimes to thwart our efforts, because if we're going to do something we failed at in the past, your subconscious mind is not going to allow you to continue failing. Even though it's best for you, it's just not going to happen. And so you have to kind of change your mind. And if you're saying, I want to lose weight, and you've said that so many times and you failed, been on diets and you failed, the prime directive of your subconscious mind is to keep harm from you. They don't want that experience of failure again. So even though you really need it, it's not going to allow it. But if you change your mind a little bit and say, instead of losing weight, maybe I want to lose some inches. I want to lose 5 inches around my waist, just to pick a number. Well, the subconscious mind is 24/7. It's archived every thought, every smell, every sense you've ever had. And if it goes into its archives and it can't find losing inches, it can't thwart you because you don't have a history of that. So maybe you might be successful by cutting back on this and that and doing some other things, exercise, whatever, and to lose inches rather than lose pounds. And that might be a different way of talking to your brain. But that same concept of a different approach is the one that I want to talk to today. And as I look at the different things here, let me pull up my first slide. We're going to look at what are some of the hacks. Okay, let's go back one. So there's slide number one. Introduction. This is the USA Global TV and Radio Network, and we're on the Talking Heads program. Disclaimer, I'm a researcher. I'm not a doctor, never been in the medical profession, never been in the pharmaceutical area. But way back when in high school, I fell in love with chemistry. For whatever reason, that was my love of my life at that time. I just couldn't understand why. I found out later that one of my inner yearnings is to know why things happen. And chemistry provides a lot of that information. I never had a chance to really and truly pursue it because I got an invitation to Vietnam as soon as I graduated with my degree in chemistry. But later on, I spent 31 years in the Navy, flew a lot of those years, 16 of them, visited 61 countries in the world, got married, 2 kids, 3 grandkids, been married 54 years now. And my wife and I are doing everything together. Right now, we're doing a major rehab to the house, upgrading bathrooms, and it's been an experience. But regardless, these things come and our life gets upended with all sorts of things. But, in the midst of all that, she came down with cancer a few years ago, and I used my chemistry background to start exploring what can we do? And I found that I love my chemistry just as much as I did earlier. And so I explored the human body at the cellular level. I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem. Treat a symptom, and you'll always be treating symptoms. So I write about it. I have books on that. My specialty is longevity, aging. And so I provide awareness, education to my audience so that then when they go to the doctor and they say, okay, this is what we want to do, you have questions that you can ask and say, well, doctor, what about this? Can I try that? And this is not meant that you just go do something, especially if you're on prescription meds already. Talk to your doctor. They're the ones who understand the interfaces of what you can and can't do and what you should and shouldn't do. All I do is provide education. And that's what I'm doing here today. So I figured I have a couple of weeks left here before the end of the year. Why not just jump into what can we do to get ourselves really and truly ready for 2023? There's a term called a hack, and it can be used in many, many different areas. But when we're talking about health, it's kind of redefined as a biohack, but everybody uses the term hack. 5 hacks to make your financial world better, 5 hacks to get better sleep, 16 hacks to turn 2023 into more productivity than you, doesn't matter, but the term is used ubiquitously all over the place. But it's a do-it-yourself program. It's something that's meant to be incremental. It's something that you actually make a change in your lifestyle to improve something. And our improvement is usually our health and our well-being, our health and wellness. Uh, what benefits? Well, a lot of things. If you make a change to your health and it improves your health, you reduce the risk of a disease or reduce the risk of going to a hospital. You enjoy life better. Maybe things are easier, the cheaper, faster, longer lasting. A lot of benefits can come out from just doing maybe 4 or 5 hacks that you find this is me. This is what I want to do. I can live with this without any problems. And it's a whole lot easier sometimes to make smaller changes in our lives than larger ones. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So what I wanted to do to open up this part is talk about two primary causes of aging. In my book, Longevity Secrets for Healthy Aging, I talk about telomere length and I talk about human growth hormone. Well, telomere length is the little end of your DNA. The DNA is a spiral hex deal that wraps around itself. At the very end, when all the parts are there, it's held together by a telomere. If you think of your shoelace plastic caplet, that would be a good representation of a telomere. And so every time that cell replicates, you take a pair of scissors and you just snip off a little bit of that plastic. The cell replicates, divides in two again. You snip off a little bit more of that plastic. At some point in time, you're going to snip off all the plastic and the shoestring unravels. Well, the same thing with our DNA. You have so many times that telomere can erode and boom, the cell no longer is alive. Now, the amount of erosion that occurs depends on your lifestyle choices. You know, if you're fairly healthy, exercising, everything, then you're only going to take. I use an example when I'm speaking of a roll of pennies. If everything is working really well, I take 1 penny out of the roll. I got 49 left. The cell replicates. I can get 50 more cell replications out because I got 50 pennies to start with. But what if I'm smoking and I'm overweight? I have a sedentary lifestyle. I'm stressed. Well, maybe instead of 1 penny coming out of that roll of pennies, I'm taking 3 or 4 pennies out. So I'm really taking and shortening the overall lifespan of that particular DNA. And as you do that throughout the entire body, you're starting to see signs of aging. You're starting to see increased risk of a lot of things. So how do we handle that telomere length erosion? What we do is better nutrition, balanced nutrition. In my book, I talk about a lot of things, but for this particular discussion today, we're just going to talk about a couple, 3. Balanced nutrition means that you're getting 30 plus individual nutrients that the body needs on a daily basis. That's all 8 of the vitamin E's. That's your vitamin B12 that is inside. In other words, it dissolves under the tongue if you're taking a pill or you're taking it from spinach or parsley or half a dozen other things. So as you're getting the nutrition from the plants, or you're balancing the nutrition through some kind of supplementation, but you're getting what the body needs on a daily basis. And exercise. In this particular case, we're talking about strength improvement. We're talking about balance. We're talking about a little bit of endurance. We're talking about a well-rounded exercise program. And yes, it does involve a little bit of sweat, but the benefits are well worth it. If I go to the next one, and I put another cause of human growth hormone declines. When you're a kid, a toddler, you have maybe 2,000 nanograms per milliliter. I'm not sure what the exact measurement of the human growth hormone is in the body, but let's say it's 2,000 at that particular level of your age. When you get to be a teenager, maybe you're down to 1,500. You're 20, 30s, now you're down to 1,000. You get into your 40s and 50s, maybe you're down to 500. You get to your 60s and 70s, maybe you're down around 100 or less. And when human growth hormone is prevalent early in our lives, it's in charge of everything. It's the one telling you how to grow. It's providing guidance for everything in the body. And that's what we need, somebody in charge. As we get older, the 800-pound gorilla in the room is now an 80-pound weakling hiding in the closet because it's not there. But the good news is we can create more human growth hormone anytime we want. There are some ways of doing it. The balanced nutrition is one, but if you want to see something literally overnight, fasting by far, it's it's amazing how 18, 20, 24, 30 hours of fasting increases human growth hormone in the body. It's literally almost like a light switch. So if you get into some kind of fasting program, intermittent fasting, maybe you're fasting 18 or 20 hours a day, that allows the human growth hormone to get back into your levels at least you had back when you're 20s, 30s, 40s. If you do a prolonged fast, again, you end up in a much better situation. But to get the human growth hormone to grow through exercise, it has to be high interval intensity exercise, sprinting, basically sprinting, or if you're bicycling, as fast as you possibly can go. If you're swimming, again, as fast as you can possibly go. But that high interval intensity is the one that clicks the switch on for human growth hormone. So if you're into exercise and you have the ability to do it without getting hurt, that might be an option to include periodically in your program. But otherwise, fasting is a good option. Again, if you've never done it and you have a health problem, talk to your doctor first. So those are the things that if we're going into 2023, I want to improve my human growth hormone and I want to slow down that erosion of my telomere. Well, what other kinds of things can I do that would improve that? Well, let me look at what are the causes of disease and what can we do about those particular causes. Well, one of them is stress. Stress creates problems in the body at the cellular level. Chronic low level inflammation, stress is where 99% of most diseases start. But we get stress from people, from places, from things that happen. Those people, and they tell us if you can avoid the stress, avoid the stress. But if the stress is your spouse or your kids or your boss, your coworkers, you can't always avoid them. And so it takes a different kind of understanding. Maybe every time you go to the store, you get on the freeway, there are places that stress you out. Those are things that if you can avoid them, fine, or maybe you just avoid them at certain times. And there are things that happen. So part of stress and what I'm looking at for us is what affects us. What do we hang on to that we can't let go? And those are the things we need to be aware of. Sometimes we don't get the sleep we want, and we're constantly thinking about the same thing. It's keeping us awake at night. That's a clue. That is something stressing you out, and that is something you need to work on. Now, stress management, there are so many different ones. Exercise is a good one. Meditation, the emotional freedom techniques where you tap various parts of the body with a mantra, just all sorts of things. There's self-hypnosis, acupuncture, acupressure, lots of options. So Dr. Google, Dr. YouTube, type in stress management and follow the yellow brick road. Toxins. We have toxins all around us, the air we breathe, even the noise pollution that we have. Toxins affect the body one way, shape, or form. We get most of them through the foods we eat or the personal care products we put on our skin. So again, awareness, education. I'll talk later about reading labels, but the biggest thing is to avoid the toxins. So if you buy foods that are healthier, if you avoid personal care products that have 150 different ingredients in it, there are things there that we can do to make our lives a whole lot better. But it all starts out with, I want to learn a little bit more. I want to educate myself on what am I really looking for that I want to avoid. Another cause of disease is radiation. Now, we don't think about this very much because what are we being radiated by? Well, your TV set, I'm sitting here in the office. I got 2 computers going on. I got 3 lights on. I have other equipment on with me. I get electricity running through the wall. So I have EMF, electromagnetic force, all around me. I also have an EMF filter in the room next to me too, so it sort of tones all that down. But the mere fact that I'm close to a computer screen, the longer time I'm there, the intensity of that radiation, those are all factors in radiation affecting my body. If I'm holding my phone next to my ear, and how close is that to my ear? How long is it there? Well, 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, probably not a big deal. But if I have it out here in front of me where it's 6, 8 inches away, that radiation level is majorly decreased. It's just much, much less. So radiation, though not a big problem for a lot of people, it is one in a sense of we need to be aware of the things around us and what can we do to avoid the level of radiation. The biggest thing is cut down on the duration, cut down on the closest. We have that. The intensity of the radiation, probably not going to change much for us. What else about disease? Inflammation. This is something that occurs throughout the body 24/7, no matter what we do, it's going to happen. Free radicals from toxins, free radicals from our food, free radicals from toxins coming through personal care products, underarm deodorant, shampoos. It doesn't matter. The free radicals are there to cause damage. And the easiest way to correct that is antioxidants through our foods and our supplements. But not every antioxidant is the same. Not every free radical is the same. But a free radical is a molecule that, for whatever reason, lost an electron, and now it's searching for a missing electron. And it's going to bump into something, and it's going to just reach out and grab an electron from that molecule to stabilize. Now that former free radical is a happy camper because it's got all its electrons, but in the process, the molecule it bumped into is now minus an electron, and it is now a free radical, and it's out in search of another electron. Well, some of the foods we eat, such as vitamin C, actually can be regenerated more than once to donate an electron. So I may have a vitamin C molecule that can donate as much as 6 electrons to squash that free radical damage. So if I have those antioxidants in my body at the cellular level, I'm keeping things under control. Some antioxidants, such as pyrroloquinoline, PQQ, goes through the blood-brain barrier and can actually be regenerated 25,000 times. So you have an army of one molecule able to handle 25,000 other molecules by donating an electron. So there are things out there, and you get that particular antioxidant from green bell peppers and from parsley primarily, but it's also available in pill form. But as we don't take care of our free radical damage, the next stage up is oxidative stress. Now, we see oxidative stress a lot when we look at rust on iron outside in the rain and the elements. That same sort of thing happens in the body. That oxidative stress takes that inflammation up to a new level. Think of inflammation on steroids, and that's what we don't want. Diet, one of those things that most of us catch every day. Nutrient deficiency, if I'm deficient in vitamin B12, mimics Alzheimer's. I think it's vitamin B1. It increases our risk of anxiety. Minus a deficiency in vitamin B3 increases our level of depression. So there are things in there that affect us emotionally, physically. If I have a low level of magnesium, things don't happen in the body the way they're supposed to. So balanced nutrition can be a problem. Obesity is a problem because now that extra fat around us it does act like another organ in the body. And so we need to be aware of these things. And so what can you do? Well, portion control is one of those. Just cut back on the amount you have. I'll be talking here very, very quickly on changing the size of your plate. If you have a large plate, go to a smaller plate. That's one way of doing portion control. Another one that is a major, major problem for so many of us is poor sugar management. We get our sugar from the carbohydrates that we eat from packaged or processed foods, from the soft drinks that we have. A lot of places we get sugar. Over time, our insulin gets to a point where we have a little bit of resistance to it. The same level of insulin that used to put glucose into the body can't do that anymore. It needs more and more, and you start going down a vicious spiral that has all sorts of implications, from brain issues to problems all over the body. So what are we looking for there? Awareness. Do you have any idea how much sugar you're eating on a daily basis? Can you constrain that a little bit? And that's what we're looking at for 2023. Continuing on here. Expectations. Believe it or not, what we expect happens when we look at our subconscious mind. It's not our ability to say, I want and I need something. It's more of the ability of what I desire, what I expect, what I intend to do. There are things in there that expectations is the primary, I guess, guiding level of our level of happiness. If I expect very little and I'm continuously exceed that, I'm happy. If my expectations are up here and I only get this much, I have a tendency to be unhappy because I'm not meeting my expectations. But in the health arrangement, we're looking at family history. We're looking at genetics. If I say my father died at 45 from a heart attack. His father died at 49 from a heart attack. And I'm saying to myself from my year 20 on, oh, I'm not going to live to 50 because both my father and my grandfather passed away. We're pre-programming our expectation to pass away in our late 40s because that's our family history. But in reality, epigenetics can change 95% of what our genetics is. A gene is either flip on or off. It's as simple as that. And things that we do in our lifestyle, the choices we make, the foods we eat, the exercise we do, the not smoking, alcohol, all those have a tendency to flip on the switch or flip off the switch for that particular gene. Sometimes we have unrealistic goals. I want to make $1 million by the time I'm 25. Well, for some people that might be doable, but for I think most of us, that's an unrealistic goal. So we got to tap down what is real, what can be done, what am I capable of doing, what additional training do I need. So in other words, it's awareness, but it's also taking the right actions to be prepared. So as I start looking at what are the key factors that I want to really and truly concentrate on, and then how can I factor in a hack to start doing some of these? Well, balanced nutrition, caloric restriction. So if I go to a smaller plate and I concentrate on just the right kinds of foods, more fruits and vegetables, more color in my vegetables, more sulfur in my vegetables, a higher quality of meat, maybe less quantity. Those are things there that are balanced nutrition and caloric restriction. The quality of my sleep is so critical because that sleep is where the body has a chance to finally and truly relax and recover and rebuild itself while you're sleeping. Exercise, we get oxygen to flow through the brain. We get a lot of movement. Lots of things happen when we exercise. That exercise might be just something as simple as walking out in the sunshine for 20 or 30 minutes and getting that extra sunlight, getting that fresh air, just getting a different perspective on life. But exercise is critical. It's just not lifting weights. It's not running. It's also the balance. It's the stretching. It's a lot of other aspects of exercise that we need to think about when we're doing that. Stress management. I hear some people say, I'm not stressed, I give stress. Well, that may be true, but our bodies accept the stress until we get rid of it. Exercise is a great way to eliminate stress from the body. But stress management has so many other options in there. I mentioned EFT, the tapping program, emotional freedom techniques, the mantras that people do with meditation, the Tai Chi, the yoga, a lot of other ways of massage, just several different ways of doing stress management. Sometimes just sitting down reading a book. I find that if I take a 7-8 minute nap, and yes, 7 or 8 minutes is usually what I do on a quick afternoon nap, I can get that same level of relaxation just by reading for 15 minutes. I grab a book and sit down and just be by myself, read, escape from everything. My body calms down. I'm okay. I have an alarm set, boom, it goes off, mark the page where I'm at, and then get back to whatever I'm doing. Weight management is one of those kind of things that are difficult on a good day. But as we get further into our life, it even becomes more difficult. But there are a lot of different ways of handling that. And part of it might be the way we look at how do we manage our weight. Is it a choice of I want to exercise, I want to reduce eating, or is it the management of everything involved with that? Stress also has a major portion. And expectation management. Are you setting your goals too high? If your goal for 2023 is to lose 20 pounds, maybe a better goal, as I mentioned earlier in the program, I want to lose 4 inches. That's maybe a more doable goal because we've never failed at losing inches before, or we might have failed at losing weight. So now we have 5 minutes left in this program, and now we're getting into the next couple dozen target-rich environment things that I'm talking about. Now, from a military, a target-rich environment means anything out there you can shoot down. Nobody's a good guy out there. We hear the same thing on low-hanging fruit in the commercial environment. Go out there and reach something that's low-hanging. Whatever you take, you're going to get better. So what do I want? I want something that is easy, quick, something that can last a long time, something that's incremental. I don't have to go through a lot of buying or activity to make something. So if I'm looking at what can I do to get better nutrition, I need to select better foods, but selecting better foods and I still have a big plate, it doesn't gain me anything. So why not change to a salad plate? Tonight for dinner. You don't have to wait for the new year. Tonight for dinner, take your salad plate out, and no seconds. You just put whatever you want on the plate. Now, tonight you may load up the plate, but be realistic. Over time, you'll find out that even everything that's on a salad plate, you don't necessarily need. There is a mechanism in our body that as food starts coming in and our hormones start signaling back and forth between the gut and the brain, there's actually a, a communication that goes back and says, that's it. I don't really need any more. But you're looking at the plate, and whether your parent says you're going to eat it or wear it, or you're looking at the bill and it's a $40 meal and I don't want to leave it on the plate, I'm going to get a doggy bag. There are a lot of things there that sometimes we just keep going. But there's actually a physical response in the body that when we have enough, the body and brain and gut are all going to say, I'm fine. I'm sated. I don't need any more. But we blast through that so fast that we don't pay attention to it. And we just finish the plate. And it's a mechanism to keep us from overeating, but it's one of those ones that we don't really tune into. I think that most people have some kind of drink with their meal, but the older you get, you're finding that your your stomach acid is not near as potent as it was earlier in your life. And if you drink water with it, tea, Coke, whatever you're drinking, that level of extra fluid has a tendency to dilute. So instead of having a pH, a really strong acid in your stomach, maybe it's now at 4.5, where the digestion's just not doing as well. You're not getting the nutrients you need, even though you have a smaller plate, even though you have better food on there. The dilution of that stomach acid is causing a problem with getting the full digestion that you want. So plan your meals, but drink 30 minutes before or 30 minutes after. If you have to sip something, sip it. That's all you have to do. Obviously, you want to buy healthier foods, and anything that's fresh is generally pretty healthy. Although you can come in there and buy, this particular food that's organic, or the same food that's not organic, and the price is 3 times different, twice maybe. But if you're going to be cutting back the portion size, you're going to be cutting back and maybe mixing 3 or 4 different things rather than just that one. Maybe you can buy the organic and actually make it last longer. I found this out several years ago, that when I switched over to just buying organic vegetables and fruit, yeah, it's more expensive, but they actually last longer because I don't eat them up as quickly. And anyway, and I'm also on 1 or maybe 2 meals a day, so I'm not overloading my plates with a lot of food. So look at the fresh fruits and vegetables. Try to avoid the boxes, containers, jars, cans, and then look at exactly what do you need. If you don't have a planned list ahead of time, you're just going in there. Your stomach is probably going to guide you for what you're going to have. As we're picking up something and evaluating it, there's a label on it. So part of this new environment for next year is understanding what you're reading on the label. The label says something. If it says anything dealing with the color, put it back down. If it has PEG or some kind of initials on there, not the whole thing spread out, chances are that's a clue. You don't need it. So what can you buy that's going to do the same thing for you that doesn't have all the preservatives, the better tasting things? Carrageenan makes ice cream taste so pleasurable, but it's also a carcinogen. And so, but it's in there, they say, in such small levels that it's not going to create a problem. What's a CRAS? There's a word there. They are essentially saying it's in the levels that are in there, it's safe. But why take a chance? Just because they say it today doesn't mean it's going to be something tomorrow. And the last item I'm going to leave you today, because I want to finish this thing up next week. In fact, there's not going to be a next week because that's going to be a couple days before Christmas. So it's going to be a couple days before New Year's when I see you again. Is not only do we want to buy healthier foods, we want to buy healthier personal care products. The stuff we put on our skin, the shampoo that we use, any of the lotions, anything whatsoever. I use coconut oil for underarm deodorant. I use it for any kind of lotion for my head. It's just such a wonderful thing. I try to buy with the least amount of processing, cold pressed, unfiltered coconut oil. And it's just a wonderful thing. I can take it with a spoon and eat it, drink it. But look at the personal care products. If you buy that same product from a company in Europe, It may only have 5 or 6 or 7 different things in there. You buy the exact same product made in the US, is going to have 23 different things in there. Those extra items are the things that Europe says, no, 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 those are not healthy for you. They're cancer causing or whatever. They do not allow them in that European world. So there are a lot of things out there, but part of it's our understanding and awareness. So start looking at labels. What can you buy that's healthier? And we're going to pick this up again in 2 weeks, and we're going to talk about the rest of the things there. So I'm on slide 12. I'll make a note of that. And I'm going to turn the program over now. And I wish you a great holiday season, a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. And I hope that some of these hacks, health hacks, work to make your life a whole lot better for 2023. Thank you.